Let the 75th Hunger Games begin. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm in my parents' backyard. I clickbaited you. I don't think I'm sorry about it. If you've been following along, I have a mold situation developing in my apartment, so during the weekends I've been driving 2.5 hours to my parents' house to limit the amount of time I stay in there because there's so many bugs. It's just like that Taylor Swift song. I'm staying at my parents' house because my apartment has been overrun by mold and bugs. She's so relatable. You know why we're here. We are here to talk about Catching Fire, the second book in the Hunger Games series. I've made you wait so long for it, and that was completely on purpose. 1.5 years? Ugh, the build-up's insane. Let's start, as we always do. Always, we've done it twice. With talking about our main cast of characters that we're going to be seeing for the rest of this book / movie / YouTube video. Katniss Everdeen. She is one of the victors of the Hunger Games from the 74th annual ones the year before. She is not doing well after these games. She's having a really hard time. Things are going poorly. This is Peeta Mellark. He is the other victor. If you will recall, there were two victors because they did something sneaky and tricked the Capitol into making it where they both got to win and no one had to die. He's doing a little better than Katniss. He is, however, still doing poorly as he watched a bunch of children get murdered and murdered some of them himself. This is Haymitch Abernathy. We now know a lot more about Haymitch than we did a couple months ago since Sunrise on the Reaping came out, but what we know of him of this time is that he was the victor of the 25th annual Hunger Games, and he is Katniss and Peeta's mentor throughout this process. Then we have Effie Trinket. Effie is kind of their escort. She travels with them to the Capitol. She has grown very fond of them throughout this process, and I think this is a book with a lot of character development for her. That's fucking Gale. God. Ugh. I ran out of ink while I was putting pictures, and this one came out of him, so I was just thinking maybe we should just, like, right there, like that maybe. Just keep it like that the whole time. What do we think? How do we feel about that? I'm kidding, but maybe I'm not. He is now working in the mines when we meet him again in Catching Fire. He's still being really fucking whiny and annoying, and he is making everyone, including me, miserable. Next, this is Finnick Odair. We don't know who he is at the beginning of the book. He is from District 4, and we will come to know more about him as time goes on. This is Joanna Mason. She is from District 7. We will also learn more about her once we leave District 12. Beatty from District 3. This is, of course, President Snow. The actual villain, even though I like to shit on Gale, he is terrible, and he will continue to make Katniss and Peeta and everyone else's life a living hell times 1,000 throughout the entirety of this journey that we're about to go on. Cinna, Katniss's stylist. We love him. We hope he sticks around. And of course, Caesar Flickerman is the host of the games. I think he just gets a poster because he's Stanley Tucci. Plutarch Heavensbee is the new head game maker after Seneca Crane's tragic and untimely demise at the end of the first book. Then, of course, you have Katniss's mother and Katniss's little sister Prim, and these are just the 3 people on her prep team, and I think they look very fun, so I put them on the board. So that's our cast of characters for this evening. Let's just get right into it. When we meet Katniss again at the beginning of the book version of Catching Fire, she's internal monologuing about her new life in the Victor's Village and how she doesn't know what to do with herself anymore because she's had to work so hard for everything, and now she's just kind of set, but also is very sad because of the trauma. In the book, we're able to kind of go over Katniss's headspace of what she experienced in the game through her monologue, but the movie does this in a very interesting way, and they start it differently. So Katniss and Gale, please stop putting him in scenes just because girls think he's attractive. I'm begging you. He does not need to be there. I don't need to look at him. Katniss and Gale are in the woods hunting, and they explore the psychological effects of the games in a more visual way because Katniss pulls her arrow to shoot a deer, and then she sees Marvel, Jack Quaid's character from District 1, I think. No, 2. Yes. 2. No. Yes. No. Doesn't fucking matter. And that's what she uses the arrow go into, and she freaks out, but obviously it's not actually Marvel. It's a deer, but it's a really good way to be able to show PTSD in that kind of way, visually, which is why I do love these movies, because I feel like visually they accomplish a lot. In my notes, I said it was the male tribute from District 1, but I swear that was Kato. Is he from 2? I don't know. Marvel is also the person that killed Rue, so it's like extra, and that's also the only person she directly had to kill during the game. When Katniss returns home from hunting, everyone's acting really weird and nervous, and she has no idea what's going on, and she enters her home, and President Snow is waiting for her there. He says, okay, I'm just going to be straight up with you. Listen, the districts are about to start rioting. We're in the arena. We're in the arena. So all of the screaming that you hear, that's tributes being murdered. That's comforting, right? That's good. That helps. Good. I'm glad. All of the districts are rioting, and you need to convince me that you and PETA's little scheme is real. Convince me so the districts believe you and think you're madly in love, or I'm going to kill you. Okay, bye. I'm going to leave you with the smell of rotting roses just for fun. XOXO. And then he's gone. And she's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? So the issue with President Snow's request is Katniss and PETA haven't really spoken since they got back to District 12. So that's going to be really hard to do. And now it's time for the victory tour, which is when the victor of the Hunger Games goes to every single district and basically just like gives a speech and flaunts how they won. It's honestly really cool, and I'm sure is purposely that way to keep everyone kind of tampered down and oppressed and sad about the dead children from their districts instead of having to think about how wrong it is. Cinna arrives with Katniss's wardrobe for the victory tour. His plan is to dress her in a much more soft, feminine way to kind of just give that I can't do anything wrong. Like I'm just a baby, Katniss and PETA reunite for the first time in the train right outside District 12, right before the victory tour starts. They like run up into each other and hug. It's kind of for the cameras. And then they fall on top of each other, which is very cute. But you have to remember that in the book, PETA has lost one of his legs. That is not a plot point in the movie. But PETA's down a leg. They also have a very good, transparent, calm, looking at you, Gail, conversation on the train about how they want to remain friends. They do have genuine care for each other. They've been through something very traumatic together, and they know they have to keep up appearances. PETA also expresses gratitude for saving his life because even though he is hurt because he has genuine feelings for Katniss, he knows that what she did in the arena saved his life. He's so healthy, unlike someone else we know. The first stop on the victory tour is District 11. Now, this is famously the district that Rue, Katniss's closest ally in the first games, and Thresh were from. Thresh spared Katniss's life when he did not have to as well. Given that this district has such significance to them, the fact that they're starting there really rattles them. And they go up to give this speech that they've written out, and Katniss kind of doesn't say her part. She's very zoned out. Up on platforms are the two dead tributes families, and Katniss is just like looking at Rue's family, and one of her sisters looks just like her, and all she can do is just stare at this little girl, and so she's completely basically catatonic up on the stage. And then PETA at the end of his speech adds something that wasn't written for them, and he says that for the rest of their lives they're going to give part of their earnings to both of the families of the tributes. And then they're about to walk off, but then Katniss is kind of like shaken out of her stupor. And she says, I just want to say that Rue was one of my closest allies and Thresh saved my life. And she kind of just speaks directly from the heart. And it's very moving to everyone that's watching. And then from the crowd, an older man lifts up his hand in the 3-finger salute. He's silent. He's not doing anything. Something that I think is worth mentioning here, because these books are so relevant to current events, is that District 11 is a southern agriculture based district. So a very large portion of the population is black. And the old man that raises his hand in the salute is an older black man. And all of these peacekeepers in their pure white uniforms come up and grab him and drag him to the center of the Justice Hall stage, which is where Katniss and Peeta are giving their speech. All of this commotion starts going on, and some peacekeepers have the guy, and the other ones are trying to shove Katniss and Peeta back inside the Justice Building so they can quell what's going on out there. Again, this man just raised his hand up and did nothing else. He didn't say a word. No one moved, no one did anything. He just put his hand in the air in a salute that's supposed to be customary of just like respect for the fallen. But as Katniss and Peeta are being shoved back into the Justice Building before the door can close completely, Katniss sees them make the man kneel down on the steps, and they execute him right there in front of everyone in the middle of the district. I think that Katniss had obviously heard from Snow that there was unease in the districts, but this was the first very tangible read of it that she had. And I think she also blames herself for getting this man killed because she went off script. So she's kind of losing it a little bit. And then Haymitch pulls her and Peeta into a side room to have a conversation. Haymitch reminds them that their star-crossed lovers routine has to go on forever. There is no end to it. They are basically property of the Capitol. Every single time they do anything, they will have to be in love for the rest of their lives. They cannot stop it. And Peeta is very frustrated because no one told him that President Snow came to Katniss's house and threatened them, essentially. And I think he's rightfully upset in that regard. And I am biased because I like Peeta a lot, but I think I would be upset too if someone was like, oh, someone was threatening to kill me and you just neglected to tell me. Because he said he would not have gone up on that stage and said that about the winnings if he had known that that would be what would happen. He says, y'all were doing this during the games and you're doing it to me now, and I don't have any sense of agency in it, and that has to stop immediately. And he is valid. The rest of the victory tour follows without incident. They go to each district. They stick to the pre-written speech and they just go about their lives. It's very just like by rote. In the movie, they do add a couple little tidbit short scenes that I think add to the overall unrest in the districts very well. A man does the well-known Hunger Games whistle, and then in another district, a little girl comes up to Katniss and's like, I'm gonna volunteer just like you when I get older. Oh my god. I just think those are two things that illustrate very well the problem of the Hunger Games and what they represent, and also how rebellion is starting. So the victory tour is over. Katniss and Peeta are getting engaged in order to pacify any rebellion that's starting in the districts. In the movie, Katniss is the one that suggests it, and then Peeta says, yeah, okay, that's fine, and then quickly removes himself because Peeta is pining. Peeta is in love, and don't you ever forget it. Because here's the thing, Peeta knows that it's necessary, but it's still sad and painful for him. In the book, it's announced by Caesar. I'm going to go down the path of the movie for a second because I feel like it keeps the very important events. So then there is a party thrown for Katniss and Peeta for their engagement at President Snow's mansion. Katniss looks up at Snow and very non-verbally is kind of like, so how did we do? And he almost imperceivably shakes his head no. She's like, oh, we're fucked. Okay, we're fucked. We're dead. This is over. Might as well just all leave tomorrow then, because we're dead. We're dead. We're fucking dead. Something else we learn at the party is that overconsumption is so rampant in the capital that all of these people take these little drinks to force them to throw up so they can continue to eat more food. This floors both Katniss and Peeta because they are from the poorest district in Panem, and they know how many people are starving with no food back home. Also at this party, Katniss and Peeta meet Plutarch, the new head game maker, for the first time. They're having this conversation and it's very weird and guarded and it almost feels like they're speaking in code, and Katniss is very annoyed by this. And at some point, Plutarch shows Katniss his watch and she swears she sees for like a split second, almost imperceptible, the Mockingjay symbol. That's weird. Something that's happening in the book at this time is Katniss is having really bad continuous nightmares. Peeta is having them as well, but he has kind of found painting as a coping mechanism. And they start sleeping together in a completely non sexual way because they're lovely. So then we find out in the movie, we see President Snow watching some news footage. In the book, Katniss happens to see this in the mayor's mansion. There has been an uprising in District 8, and shit is going down. Then Katniss and Gale meet in the woods. I need to take a deep breath because the way that he acts in this part really pisses me off, and oh, okay. He's the most toxic individual on the planet. I know he's not real, but thank God he's not. It's the middle of winter. Katniss has brought Gale a pair of Cinna's old gloves because she cares for him, and he's kind of like, oh, thanks. Katniss has developed a plan that will allow everyone to escape District 12. This plan includes her family, Gale's family, Haymitch, and Peeta. Gale seems pretty on board with this plan until he hears Peeta's name. Just a quick spoiler alert, we're going to talk about this in a minute. When Peeta hears this plan, he will not react in this way. He will react like a sane human being. Anyway, so Gale is calling Katniss a coward. Imagine. And then he throws the gloves at her. I gotta take a lap with that one. I mean, honestly, like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? I can't do this. I think I maybe would kill him if I could. He also decides, oh, this is the perfect moment to confess my love to you. She's shocked by this and doesn't say I love you back, and he gets even more pissy because of course he does. He's just so manipulative, and it drives me crazy. She also mistakenly mentions that she knows that there is an uprising happening in 8, and Gale is so happy about this. And I want to talk about this actually for a second. Change is good, and sometimes things will happen in very messy ways, and that is necessary in order for change to occur. I do think it's weird to be happy about death and destruction of people in any way, shape, or form. I think that that's weird. I think it's weird to be smiling about that. You can think, oh, this could be the start of a revolution. This could lead to something. You can think of it in a very serious manner, but to smile about it, I think that's unhinged, insane behavior. So Gale has taken his ball and gone home, and Katniss makes her way back into the village. She is now going to tell Peeta the same plan that she just told Gale. Wouldn't you know it, the first thing that Peeta asks, what about Gale? I also want to take this moment to point out that while Gale said, oh, you're a coward because she wanted to run away, Peeta says, I mean, sure, I'll run away with you, but I don't think for a second you're actually going to do that. Because he actually knows her as a person. Katniss has a moment of fear, a moment of weakness, where she is very overwhelmed with what's going on, and her first instinct is to run and save herself and her family. Peeta knows her well enough to know that that is not who she really is, and that moment will pass, and she will do what must be done. Gale is a little bitch, and it's the crux of the issue of who he is as a person. In my view, Gale is like poison to Katniss's mind, honestly. She has this narrative that she continuously tells herself in the books where she's like, I'm only important because of those berries. If it weren't for those berries, I wouldn't matter. That's the only reason I'm important. And I think that the way that Gale acts like she's a coward and she's doing all of this really feeds into that and cements that mindset for her. I think he's terrible. I'm sure you know that I think that because all I do is talk about how much I hate him. But okay, something very serious is about to happen. Katniss and Peeta are walking back towards the town square, and they hear these weird noises happening. Peeta kind of walks ahead a little bit, then comes back and says, you need to go home right now. Of course, Katniss is stubborn and does not do this, and she follows him, and what she sees is Gale has been tied to a newly erected whipping post in the town square and is just getting lashed over and over and over again. The short reason of why he's there is that he got caught hunting illegally. The punishment completely outweighs the crime. It's ridiculous. It's because he's close to Katniss. Katniss, ever our impulsive queen, runs between the Peacekeeper and Gale, and instead of stopping, the Peacekeeper just holds back on the whip and just nails her right across the face as well. He's about to do it again, still not stop, and then Haymitch and Peeta also run in between them, and Haymitch is like, do you know who this is? She's getting pictures taken for her wedding portrait literally tomorrow, and you have just messed up her face, you dumb fuck. We learn that this Peacekeeper's name is Thread. He and every other Peacekeeper is brand new. None of the old Peacekeepers that liked Katniss and Gale still exist in District 12. They have all been replaced. I also just want to say, I know that I spend a half, probably, of these videos always hating on Gale. I think that he is a very immature person. But he does not deserve what has happened to him here. It was wrong. It was completely messed up. It was an act of brutality that was not necessary. It was completely to show power, and it should not have happened. And it's very sad that it happened. And I want to make sure that that's clear, that I hate that this happened to him. I know he's not real, but in the context of this story, it is very bad that this has happened, and he did not deserve it. I'm going to say something snarky about him in about 3 more minutes, so just remember that I said that. Gale is basically unconscious. I don't remember exactly how many times he's been hit, but it's a lot. So they carry him into Katniss's mom's house because Katniss's mom is a healer, and Prim has also started being a healer. And they work together to get him out on the table. He's in so much pain. It's like agonizing. He's in and out of consciousness. Faded away too long. I'm floating in and out of consciousness, and they said I'm back. I'd agree with that. I just take my time with all this shit. I still believe in that. I had someone tell me I fell off. Ooh, I needed that. Because he's in so much pain, Katniss is really upset that he's not being given anything, but they don't have much to give. They're trying to be very sparing with it. And then there's a knock at the door. This is just in the book. And Madge, the mayor's daughter, comes and gives vials of sleep syrup to them. Madge's mother, we now know that Madge's mother is Maisie Donner's twin sister, and we know a lot more about Maisie Donner than we did before, since Sunrise on the Reaping came out, because her sister died in the arena. So she has spent the rest of her life basically catatonic, chronic migraines, just like wasting away in bed. So she has a lot of sleep syrup at her disposal because she's also the mayor's wife. And Madge brings a huge container of it to them to be able to use to help Gale. If you will remember, I'm going to start being snarky about Gale again. I said it was coming in like 3 minutes. If you'll remember, in the first book, Gale is really mean to Madge for no reason, just because she's the mayor's daughter. Just saying. It's Morphling, not sleep syrup. So sorry. I just read my notes. It is 100% Morphling and not sleep syrup. Okay, so after all the excitement is over, Katniss is sitting there alone with Gale, and she kisses him. This is also the moment where she chooses him and decides that he is the person she is going to be with. I believe that this comes about simply because, I don't want to say it's out of sympathy. I feel like that has a negative connotation. But something very traumatic happened to him, and she probably feels partly responsible. And I think that that can make your brain feel like an attachment. It's like a trauma bond in a way. And she also will spend the rest of the book thinking about Peeta and being like, oh no, but I chose Gale. Girl. Katniss makes her way back into town, and she is able to see for the first time exactly how much has changed. Every single Peacekeeper has been changed out. She recognizes no one. And there are now stockades in the town square. There are people with guns up on the roof, and they have completely destroyed the hob, the like backwoods thing that they would all use to sell things illegally. All right, this is just book. We're about to do a really big section of things that only happen in the book. Katniss goes into the woods to clear her mind and do some hunting. She returns to that old cabin that she met Gale at a little earlier, and there's two peacekeepers standing out there. And she's like, hey, what the fuck? And she's about to shoot them. But then she looks closer and she's like, these are barely fitting them. Something is going on. And that's when we meet the characters of Bonnie and Twill. If you'll remember, District 8 is where the uprising is happening. It is also the textile district. So these two have escaped District 8 in peacekeeper uniforms that are manufactured in that district. They tell Katniss the details of the uprising and reveal that they are planning to travel to District 13. And Katniss is like, that's not fucking real. And they're like, no, I promise, it is. It's real. District 13 is real. Their actual export was nuclear weapons, not graphite. They have moved underground because they rebelled against the Capitol. Their main piece of evidence for this is that every time they show a clip of the rubble of District 13, the same Mockingjay flies in the corner of the screen. And I think that's just neat because it's a Mockingjay. Katniss gives them some food and leaves them to their own devices. We never hear about either of these two people again, even when we get to places where they say they're going in the next book. So I don't think any good things happened after they left, but they were really close, so maybe so. I don't know. All right, still only happens in the book. When Katniss leaves the woods and tries to go back, the electric fence is back on. It hasn't been on in years and years and years, but when Katniss goes back, she realizes that it's on, and she has to climb up in this tree. It's still really like icy and snowy outside, and jump down, and when she jumps down, she falls, and she hits weird, and she like really hurts her ankle and her tailbone. When Katniss gets back home, her mother and Prim are acting weird again. And then she realizes there are two peacekeepers in her house, and they're acting weird too because they seem very shocked that she is there. They very obviously were hoping that she wouldn't return and they would be able to do something terrible to her and her family, but she girl bossed it and made it home, broken foot and all. There's a pretty big passage of time where there isn't any huge event happening because we're waiting for the welt on Katniss's face to heal, and we're also waiting for her broken foot to start to heal. During this time, Katniss and Peeta are working together on making a big medicinal book based off of her mother and father's research and Peeta's drawings. Just some cute little gems I want you to know about them from this portion of the book. Peeta brings her like cheese buns every single day he comes to visit her. She also is like, I like to watch his hands while he works. So real of her. So real of her. There are multiple sentences in this portion of the book dedicated to her describing Peeta's eyelashes. She's so down bad and she refuses to admit it. Also, hey, Katniss, real quick, just a question for you. If you like Gale so much, why don't you want him around you right now? Is it maybe because he has the emotional depth of a piece of plywood? I would understand. Trust me, I know that's fucking rough. I know what you're thinking. Holy shit, this is like a bunch of important information to leave out of the movie. And I agree, but I also get why they did it. I do love both of these like pieces of information, these big plot points. And I would have loved to have been able to see them play out on screen and see them acted by all of these people. But I also think they are hammering home things that we already know or will come to know. So it would have begun to maybe be a little bit repetitive. And at this point, movies still weren't crossing that like 2 hour mark that much. I think if it was made today, it might have all been in there just because we're at like 3 hours for everything. We're at 3 hours for act one of a musical. I'm not complaining. I loved that so much. But it is what's happening. This book is also like very meaty. Will you realize how much we have said already, and we are not anywhere close to going back into the arena? And with that being said, there are a few more things that only happen in the book that are not in the movie. Cinna and the prep team come back to get her ready for her interview and everything with the wedding dresses. The prep team is kind of doing that thing where they complain a little bit about their frivolous lifestyles when everyone else has it much more difficult than them. And they are talking about how they have not had access to shellfish, which Katniss is like, well, that's interesting. What's going on in District 4 where no one can export shellfish? Katniss is like, oh my god, other districts are also rebelling. This is like a huge situation that's going on. And then Prim comes home and says that she was told at school that day that there would be a mandatory viewing from the Capitol that everyone had to watch that night. Right, book and movie are coming back together now. We're going down the same path after all that extra shit happened. When Snow appears on the screen, he says that he is going to announce the theme for the 75th annual Hunger Games because it is a quarter quell. With quarter quells, they are always a crazy special theme. Haymitch was in the 50th quarter quell, and there were double the amount of tributes. At this point in time, that's all we know. I'm not going to get into Sunrise on the Reaping right now. So they have no idea what the theme will be. It's supposed to be sealed away in an envelope that no one can get to, and then revealed on the day of the announcement. I think that's bullshit, but I digress. Snow opens the envelope and reveals that the tributes will be picked from a pool of existing victors. So that means the only people that can go into the Hunger Games are people who have already been in the Hunger Games. Fuck. I know. Katniss loses her mind. She goes out, she gets super drunk, passes out in a thing, wakes up, goes to Haymitch's house, is like, we have to save Peeta. Haymitch is like, he was here 2 hours ago. What's your deal? You don't deserve him. He is a little bit right. And then she's like, I know I don't deserve him. That's why we have to save him. Can you please do this with me? And Haymitch is like, you're asking me to basically kill myself for him. And she's like, it's not important. She either wants Haymitch to volunteer for his place or promise her that every single piece of like sponsor money, any help that can be given in the arena goes to him and not her. Haymitch is very kind of flippant with it, but Haymitch does agree to this and accepts her promise. That's very important to know as we get to the end of this and also into the next book. Haymitch does promise her he will do that. Of course, Gale shows up and is like, you were right. We have to run away. Get out of my face. Get out of my face. Get away from me. Oh, now you understand that you should run away? Oh, now she's not a coward? Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, sure, Gale, sure. After this really depressing announcement, Haymitch and Katniss both embrace their inner alcoholics. I guess it's Haymitch's outward alcoholic. Tough love Peeta has entered the chat. That piece is not in the movie. It's the day of the reaping. Effie is back. She is in this like orange monarch butterfly outfit that goes absolutely crazy. But she also is appearing in a much more somber way than she was in the first movie. And I think that's very good character development. She's very chipper in Hunger Games, and she's much more like, I don't want to send these people away to go die in this one, because she does have a conscience, believe it or not. Katniss is obviously picked as the female tribute, and then Haymitch is picked as the male tribute, and then Peeta instantly volunteers for him. It's the rematch of the century. Katniss and Peeta are put directly on the train. They are not allowed to say goodbye to their families like they were the last time. And because we're going back into another Hunger Games, Katniss is of course on her I've resigned myself to dying and I will see everything for the rest of this through that lens bullshit. That night when they get to the Capitol, they decide to watch the tape of the last quarter quell, which is Haymitch's games. I am going to tell you the details of that we know from this book. Only this book, not the other one. So I'm gonna skip some important stuff, but we don't know that yet. None of these people know that. So that's why. The theme that year was having double the amount of tributes. One of those tributes was Katniss's mom's friend. Okay, wait, this is actually so funny. I wrote in my notes from a year and a half ago, I'm not going to go into the details of how he won his games because I am still fingers crossed for a Haymitch book. I'm a witch. I'm not. What you really need to know for the purposes of story at this point is that the way that Haymitch won his game was by using the Capitol's force field against them. He had an axe and he made it launch back at someone. So it was not unlike Katniss and Peeta's victory because it made the Capitol angry. We don't know exactly what happened, but we know that Haymitch was punished. It's time for the opening ceremonies. Cinna's plan this year is to have them kind of be the smoldering embers of a fire. So they're going to be really stoic. Before the ceremony, Katniss meets one Finnick O'Dare from District 4. He's here. Guys, he's here. Nobody freak out. He's here. Finnick is here. He has arrived. He says, sugar cube. He has this thing on the surface where he comes across as very self-centered and has this like, I know I'm hot attitude, and Katniss hates his guts. She hates his fucking guts. After the opening ceremony, they encounter Joanna Mason in the elevator, and she strips down naked in front of them, and Katniss hates her too. The face that Jennifer Lawrence makes in the movie at this point in time is one of the most hilarious things that's ever happened. The thing that Haymitch is really harping on this year is that they must form an alliance. They don't have the element of surprise that would come with a brand new pool of people, so he wants them to pick people that they trust to rely on in the arena. Katniss becomes attached to Wyrus and Beetee from District 3. They are very eccentric people. They have the nicknames of Nuts and Volts. So that's kind of their reputation, kind of like a little crazed, a little kooky, not necessarily the best, most strong allies. The other person that she really likes is the 80-year-old woman named Mags, who volunteered for a redhead named Annie in District 4. So the person that's there with Finnick. She does still hate Finnick, though. He is not a part of this deal that she wants to make. When she's speaking to Wyrus and Beetee, they're like, you can always tell when there's a force field on something because it shimmers just a little bit in the corner. The next thing that we do is go into the individual sessions with the game makers. Katniss and Peeta really do their big ones here, as far as a big just fuck you to the Capitol. Peeta does this painting on the ground of like Rue dead in the arena from the first games they were in, with flowers all around her, like how Katniss put her out afterwards. And then Katniss goes in there, gets one of these little dummies, ties a knot, puts some paint on him, and then hangs him. And it's Seneca Crane, the head game maker from the last games, who was forced to commit suicide by the Capitol. In the movie, they put him in a room with the berries, and it's very cool. But in the book, he just hangs himself. She writes Seneca Crane in big letters on the chest and just leaves it hanging and then walks out of the room without talking to them. Even though Katniss and Peeta do not show any skill at all, they both are given a score of 12, the highest possible score, because all of the game makers want them to be a target for all the other tributes. They don't do much in the way of interview prep like they do the first time they go into the game, so Katniss and Peeta just spend like the whole day together. It's very sweet. The next day, the day of the interviews, Cinna and the prep team return. They walk in and they see that like Katniss and Peeta are sleeping in the same bed together, and the prep team starts crying. Same. Snow has requested that Katniss wear her wedding dress. But when she puts it on, she's like, this is a lot heavier than I remember it being. And Cinna says, oh, I did some alterations. When I cue you, I want you to spin while you're doing your interview. During the actual interviews, almost every single tribute is filled with like toot. Like, terrible attitude. Joanna is sitting there outwardly talking about how fucked up the whole thing is, and even the career tributes are making their distaste known, which is very huge for them because they're normally like the Capitol's darlings. Katniss is the first person from 12 to do hers, so she's kind of just having a normal conversation with Caesar. Cinna does the thing. She does her little twirl, and the dress kind of like ignites and then burns, and then what's left behind is this big mockingjay thing, and Caesar's like, oh, like the bird from your token, and she's like, yeah, like the bird from my token. And then here we go everybody, oh, here we go, it's time, guys, it's time, okay. I'm holding this because it's windy, but also I need to hold on to something. PETA is out here. It's time for his interview. PETA's about to drop the bombshell. He gets up there, he's talking to Caesar, and he's like, well, actually, Katniss and I had a traditional marriage ceremony in District 12, so technically we're married. And Caesar's like, oh, isn't it so nice that you get to go out with your wife, which I don't know why the fuck you'd ever say that, but whatever. And then PETA says, I'm going to get real center right now because this is the best thing that's ever happened. PETA says, if it weren't for the baby, oh, everybody loses their fucking minds. Oh my god, me included. Everyone is going crazy. People are yelling in the audience. He has just dropped the bombshell. He is a baller ass man. He said, horrified looks from everyone in the room. So after everyone calms down, the interviews are over. All of the tributes actually hold hands on stage in an act of solidarity. And Snow is up wherever the fuck Snow is, and he's like, oh, look at them holding hands. I want them dead. Because he is unfortunately a really good villain. Like, he's a piece of shit, but he is such a good villain. Oh my god. Effie is very attached to both of them. In the movie, she's able to say goodbye. In the book, she isn't. This is where I'm going to take a second just to mention that Effie came up with this idea that everyone would have something gold to prove that they are a team, which is very sweet of her, considering where she came from, how much she's evolved is crazy. So her hair is gold during this book. Katniss has her Mockingjay pin, obviously. PETA has a gold necklace, and Haymitch has a gold bangle to go around his wrist. Haymitch says the same thing he gave them as advice the year before to be a cheeky little shit, and he says, stay alive. But then he also says, remember who the real enemy is. Chills. Katniss is back in her little waiting area with Cinna again. He's like, I'm still betting on you, girl on fire. And then she gets in her tube that raises her up into the arena. The second her tube seals her in there, armed peacekeepers come in and they start beating the shit out of Cinna. He's knocked unconscious and she cannot do anything about it. She is stuck. They drag him out of the room. Obviously, they did this to her on purpose because they wanted to rattle her and have her off her game, but they are forgetting that Katniss is that bitch and also can put a mental block up in her head better than anyone I've ever seen in my life. And now, let the 75th Hunger Games, live from the arena, begin. Boy, you can really tell who is important this time around, huh? I love this fucking guy. I don't know a thing about him, but I love him. Katniss is going up in the tube. She gets up there. It's just so disoriented. It's bright and sunny, and she can tell that she's surrounded by water. Let's really quickly go over what exactly the arena looks like for this year of the games. Behind Katniss on her platform, she can tell that it looks a bit like a jungle, and she is in the middle of water, and there's a beach in the middle with the cornucopia on it. Everything is kind of divided with these lines of sand in between, and they don't know why that's happening at this point. Day one of the games. Katniss is a really good swimmer. Her dad taught her how when she was little, so she gets to the cornucopia first over most of the people except for like 4. That's District 4, not 4 people. She grabs a bow and arrow, and then she sees Finnick. She hates Finnick. And she goes to shoot him, just for no fucking reason, honestly, and then sees that Haymitch has given him his gold bangle to wear, which is him basically being like, play nice, be allies. She doesn't like this at all, but she trusts Haymitch enough to follow through and is like, all right, fine. Finnick's signature weapon that he used to win his games and is using now is a trident, and he uses it to kill the man from 5. Already somebody's dead. Bennett goes to grab PETA, who can't swim. Again, we'll remind you, in the books, he is down a leg. And Mags also is like doggy paddling. This is Mags. Mags is doggy paddling her way over as well because she's so old. She can swim well because she's from 4, but not well because she's like 80. So at this point in time, Districts 4 and 12 are in an alliance together. We know that for sure. So they head off into the jungle. PETA is using a machete to kind of chop through the foliage. And at the last second, Katniss realizes she sees that little bit of shimmer that Beatty and Wyrus are telling her about that lets her know there's a force field there, and she goes, Peeta, wait, but before she can get it out, he hits it with the machete, and he gets thrown back and electrocuted. So Peeta's basically dead right now at this point in time. Peeta is dead. Finnick starts giving him mouth to mouth and CPR to try to revive him. Katniss thinks Finnick is killing him for half a second because of who she is as a person. That's always where her mind goes. It's very funny to me, but I'm sure traumatizing to her. Katniss is like a crying, screaming, snotting mess because she thinks Peeta is dead or dying. But Finnick manages to revive him, and Peeta is alive. This is also the moment where Finnick realizes that Katniss is definitely, for sure, 100% not faking it, in love with Peeta. Katniss still does not know this, and will not until the epilogue of Mockingjay. Just like last year, the first thing that we are is thirsty, dehydrated, and so we are on the lookout for some water. The ocean is salt water, so obviously can't drink that, but they see these little creatures with kind of like sharp teeth and long bills, and they are alive, so there has to be water somewhere that they are getting. Haymitch sends down this object. They have no idea what it is. They spend a while trying to figure it out, and then Katniss realizes that it's a spile. She's seen it before to get maple syrup out of trees. So they put it into the tree, and water comes out. Before the night ends, Katniss hears 12 gongs. You know, it's not the cannons that normally go off when someone dies. It's just 12 gongs. She has no explanation for this. It just is really weird to her. None of our main characters interact with any of the other tributes that get murdered that day, but we do know, based on the projections in the sky, that besides the man from 5, the unnamed male from 6 has died. Both of the District 6 victors were called the Morphlings. They basically, after their games, became addicted to morphling, which is the Hunger Games way of saying morphine. So they're very out of it and spacey for the entirety of the games, and they're not very coherent. We also have Woof, this old man from District 8, whose picture is very funny to me. The female tribute from 8, Cecilia, as well. Both tributes from 9, the woman from 10, and the woman from District 11. And that is the end of day 1 of the 75th Annual Hunger Games. This is where we are. I've combined day 2 and 3 into one blurb because a lot happens and it's nighttime, but things are still happening, and we don't really ever stop what we're doing in between these two. Katniss has agreed to stay up and keep watch, and she sees this really terrible thunderstorm raging off in the distance, but it doesn't come any closer. It seems to be very contained. They do hear a cannon go off, though, so they know it's deadly. Also, while she's keeping watch, she notices this fog coming in, and it's creeping in this super unnatural way. She's trying really quickly to wake the others up, but before she can, it gets to her and it stings and burns, and it causes her skin to bubble up like crazy. It's basically poison. The 4 of them, being Katniss, Peeta, Mags, and Finnick, are trying to run, but it's also like affecting them neurologically, so they can't really walk or move in the way that they normally can to get away quickly. So it's becoming impossible. They're like hobbling along and they're not making it. This is another point where I will remind you again. In the book, Peeta is missing a leg. Peeta is down a leg in the book. This is the 3rd time I've said it, because this is the 3rd time it's kind of been important to make him seem like a not, because he was so strong, right? He's so strong in the first book, and then he keeps doing these little things in this one where it's like, why is he now like the weakest man alive? It's because he's missing a leg. Not that that makes anyone weak, but it does have some limitations, but he has both in the movie, so it's kind of just like we power capped Peeta for no reason in the movie. I mean, technically he was like legally dead for a second 24 hours ago, so that is also a good excuse, but the leg one is better. Anyway, they're trying to get everyone along. It's impossible for Finnick to carry or get both Peeta and Mags to safety. So, Mags, who is mute, by the way, we don't know why. We do kind of know why now, but at this point we don't know why. She gives Finnick a hug and a kiss, and she walks into the fog voluntarily and sacrifices herself for Peeta. I am sorry, Mags. You are very kind, old lady. Katniss is like, why the hell would she do that? Finnick is obviously devastated by this. I think that he probably views Mags as a bit of a mother figure, but they have to keep moving. They find a pond of water, and while it hurts like hell, going in it helps draw the poison out of their skin, so they have to do it. They force it to happen. Peeta decides this is probably a good time to tap a tree for water since they just did so much exertion, and Katniss notices above him there is a big old monkey in a tree. Now that sounds like my worst fucking nightmare. I hate monkeys. They freak me out. It's like the uncanny valley, but for animals. It's too human, but it's not human. And they make me want to throw up. When I worked at an Office Depot, story time. When I worked at an Office Depot, there was this man, and I guess he had a pet monkey. And he brought that monkey into that Office Depot. Oh my God. It had a yellow t-shirt on. This is burned into my brain. I'm scarred for life. It had a yellow t-shirt on. Its arms were so long. I could throw up thinking about it. Its arms were so fucking long. And it was using its weird little human-like fingers to grip onto the edge of my copy and print counter. Ugh. Ugh. Terrible. Terrible. What a terrible, terrible thing. Why would anyone want that? I don't like looking at them. I don't like monkeys. Anyway, the monkeys are obviously mutations, and they start attacking all three of them. They're able to fight them off really well at first, but they just keep multiplying, and they're starting to get overpowered. Peeta is, like, tackled by one. Peeta is, again, about to die. Second time in, like, a day. He's really struggling this time around. I guess he was kind of struggling the first time, too. Katniss is always saving his life, but he's okay with it, and that's why he's good. But before the monkey can, like, rip Peeta's face off, because that's what fucking monkeys do because they're scary and crazy and terrible, the Morphling from District 6 pops out of this tree that she was hiding in and gets the monkey off of Peeta and sacrifices herself for him, just like Mags did, which is weird. She dies on the beach. There's this very sweet moment that happens where Peeta is kind of like telling her to like look up at the sunset while she's dying. She's been mauled by a monkey, so it's a little gruesome. And he's like talking to her about the colors in the sunset. It's just very nice. It's very sweet. Peeta's just so good. He's just so good. He's just so good. We don't deserve him. Finnick keeps watch that night, and they wake up to a gift. It's skin ointment because they're covered in terrible, terrible scabs from the poison fog. And there's also some bread that looks like it's very typical District 4 bread that they've also been given. And Finnick is being like really territorial over the bread. Like he's grabbing it away. He's refusing to share. Katniss is like, I fucking get it, dude. The bread is from your district. You can have the bread. Chill out. At like exactly 10 a.m., they're looking across and they see this huge tidal wave come up and just sweep up. They hear someone scream and then they die. We don't know who it is at this point yet. A little bit of time passes, and then Finnick, Katniss, and Peeta find Joanna on a beach with Wyrus and Beetee. All three of them are covered in blood but are not injured. Joanna is very overwhelmed, and she's being a little mean to Wyrus because Wyrus is a little kooky and she's kind of just repeating the same thing over and over again. And Katniss, who doesn't like Joanna, is like, hey, can you stop being mean to her, please? And Joanna goes, I got them for you. Shut up. And Katniss is like, for moi? Who? What? What do you mean for me? Why is everybody being so fucking weird about me and Peeta? What's going on? Wyrus is fully in shock from the blood rain. We've discovered it's blood rain. And so she's just repeating the words TikTok over and over again. She's ahead of her time. She predicted the social media phenomenon. This goes on for a while. They're kind of all in the ocean trying to wipe the blood off of them, getting to just like have a normal conversation a little bit. And then Katniss realizes why Wyrus is saying TikTok over and over again. We realize in this moment that the arena is a clock. The dividers in the sand are different sections. The reason why it feels like everything hits a wall and can't go forward into something else is because only the thing can occur in its section at a certain time, and it cannot happen any other time, and it cannot creep into another section. It's completely segmented. They all make their way back to the cornucopia in the center so they can kind of get a lay of the land and figure out exactly what's going on. In the book, Katniss is referring to Wyrus as their little canary, which I think is cute. Like in a coal mine, and District 12 is the manager. You get it, you get it, you get it. They're all talking, and Wyrus is still kind of incessantly saying TikTok over and over again. But then I think the way that Susan Collins wrote this is very good, which is why I'm bringing up the canary thing. Katniss is like, I realized that our canary has stopped singing. Katniss turns just in time. She sees Gloss, the male from District 1, kill Wyrus. Wyrus is dead. After Wyrus is killed, everyone starts going kind of a little crazy, fighting each other, and the game makers do not like that they have figured out the trick of the arena, so they start spinning the cornucopia while everyone is on it to disorient them so they don't know which section is which, because they had started to decode that as well. After everyone's disoriented, the conflict kind of fizzles out, and they all head back into the jungle. They make their way back into the jungle, and then Finnick and Katniss get stuck in a section with Jabberjays. Jabberjays are half of what Mockingjays were. They were made by the Capitol to spy during the first rebellion, and they're not really used at all anymore widely because the people in the rebellion ended up using it against the Capitol. But they're using them in the arena because the Jabberjays have been programmed with the sounds of their loved ones screaming out for help. It's psychological warfare. Katniss realizes that Finnick keeps calling out for someone named Annie, and she kind of puts it together in her head that that must be the redhead that Mags volunteered for in District 4, and he must be in love with her. We don't know much about Annie at this point in time. That's all that we know. After the hour is up, the torture of the birds automatically ends, and then everyone kind of settles down near the beach. And then Peeta and Katniss are having some alone time, and he's like, I know what you're doing. And he is trying to convince her to stop trying to save him. He says that he doesn't have anyone that's counting on him, that relies on him. And he shows her the inside of his necklace, which is a picture of her mother, her sister, and even fucking Gale. Oh my god. We don't deserve him. We don't deserve Peeta Mellark. We don't deserve him. There's also this really cute thing where he's like, nobody needs me. And she's like, I need you. Yeah, but you're not in love with him. Sure, girl. Yeah, no, that. Yeah. No. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. No, you're not. No. You're not in love with him at all. You're not. You're not. You're so not. It's so fine. Then they kiss. But this time it's like real, you know? There's no one watching it. They're not really trying to keep up a pretense. It's a real and actual kiss. And she talks about how it makes her like feel things. And she says there's like this hunger attached to it, which is wild. And she didn't say any of that when she kissed Gale earlier. I'd just like to point that out really quickly. All right, so that's kind of the combo of day 2 and 3. So let's go over who has died. They kill Gloss in the cornucopia that day when they killed Wyrus as well. Cashmere from District 1 has also died. I believe she was the one that got killed by the wave. Don't quote me on that. We also lost the female from 5 on this day. And Joanna's district partner in 7 was killed by the blood rain that she saved Wyrus and Beatty from. She says this really kind of like sweet thing where she's like, he wasn't much, but he was home. And I just think that's a nice kind of humanizing moment for Joanna, because we don't get a lot of those for her. Beatty has thought of what is, in his mind, a surefire way to kill the careers. So the plan is to take this spool of copper wire that he's been holding onto that he got from the cornucopia, and he's been fiddling with it for a few days. His plan is to drag that wire down to the beach, connect the other end of it to the tree in the section that has the big storm, because it gets struck by lightning on that hour every single time. They're going to try to get everyone down on the beach so that when the careers are standing on the wet sand, they'll all get electrocuted the same way. this is Volts, you know, this is electric guy. That's, I think he won his games with something electric as well. And then we know some more things about him since Sunrise on the Reaping, but you'll have to wait on that one. Katniss is very wary of this plan. It's not her favorite because it is genuinely insanely convoluted. Like, if you had a hard time keeping track of that, that's fine. I think everyone does. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but there's not really another option because they're trying to end it quickly. So Beetee starts delegating out for his plan. Katniss and Joanna, Katniss still does not like Joanna, are told to take the spool of wire down to the beach and like unravel it all the way back up to the tree. Katniss hates this plan because it will separate her from Peeta, and that's the person she actually cares about and wants to protect. She does it anyway, and they're on their way down to the beach with the wire, but then all of a sudden it's not pulling anymore, and they realize that someone has cut it. The last two careers that are left, besides Finnick, because I don't count him as a career. What a dirty word to call him. The two careers that are left come after them. They have cut the wire. Joanna throws Katniss on the ground, hits her over the head to try to knock her unconscious, and then starts digging around in her arm and cutting her arm open. Katniss is like, I fucking knew it. I couldn't trust this bitch. She's the worst. She's gonna kill me right here, right now. I can't do anything about it. I'm dead. Peeta's dead. Everything's over. Great. Hate that bitch. Everyone should have listened to me. I knew I shouldn't have trusted her. She's wrong. But we'll get to that. Joanna just like runs off and disappears. Katniss, stubborn, forces herself up from the ground and she's trying to find Peeta. She's just like very loudly screaming his name, which is a bad idea, but she's lost a lot of blood, so we'll give her a pass. She also can hear Finnick calling out for both her and Joanna in the distance. She finds the end of the wire that was cut, and she's able to kind of use that to find her way back to the tree where they started. Beetee is like passed out on the ground, twitching. She decides that he probably like tried to stick his knife in the force field to kind of cause a jolt of electricity, since everything was kind of falling apart and it didn't work. So he's out of it. He's down for the count. He's not dead, but he's not really alive either at this point. She's still calling out for Peeta, but Finnick is the one who appears. She doesn't trust anyone anymore. She barely trusted them to start with, and then Joanna just stuck a knife in her arm and covered her with blood. So she's like, oh, I'm gonna fucking kill Finnick. That's what I'm gonna do right now. Right now, what I'm gonna do is kill Finnick. So she raises her arrow, and then Finnick like raises his arm up with the bangle on it, and he's like, remember who the real enemy is, and she doesn't kill him. Thank God. What she does instead is take the wire that's laying on the ground, wrap it around the end of her arrow. She points it up, she aims, and she shoots the arrow connected to the wire right into the force field, and everything starts exploding. The game feed is cut. Everything is kind of a wreck. She obviously gets like electrocuted, passes out on the ground, and then we just see her being lifted up in one of the cranes that they use to get the tributes. And that's the end of the 75th annual Hunger Games. Let's figure out what the aftermath of that is. Oh, I guess at some point these bitches died. I don't know when. It's not important. It's fine. Well, shit. Well, that was crazy, right? Full transparency, I film the parts with this board, then I take this all down and put the other board up, so I have not filmed the game part yet. But damn, that was crazy, huh? That was crazy. Katniss just wakes up in a hovercraft. She is not sure where she is. Beetee is in a bed beside her. Her immediate thought is, I'm going to get this syringe with some liquid in it. I don't know what it is. And then I am going to go find Peeta, and I'm going to kill him so he can't be tortured by the Capitol. She's so sane and normal. What a sane and normal girl she is. Instead of finding Peeta, she comes up to a door, and she hears familiar voices talking behind it. She is ready to go in attacking. She opens the door. It is Haymitch and Finnick and Plutarch Heavensby. What the fuck? All in there. She goes to attack, and then Haymitch wrestles her to the ground. After they get her kind of handled as best as you can handle her, they start to explain to her what has happened. As soon as the quarter quell was announced, a plan was formulated. Districts 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 11 all had various levels of knowledge of this plan. Plutarch has been working from within Panem's government for years. He was in on the plan since the beginning, and he made sure that the wire was present in the arena so that it could be used to blow it up. All of that bread that Finnick was being super possessive about while they were trying to eat food was code, and it was telling them what time and day everything was going to go down. That's why he was being so obsessive counting it. And lastly, and most importantly, District 13 is real, and they are headed there now. After she's told all this, Katniss realizes that Haymitch was never planning on making PETA a priority. He lied to her when he agreed, and she lunges at him. She scratches his face all up, and then she's sedated. And Finnick is like, hey, they'll keep him alive for collateral. Sir, you're not helping. Dude, hey, love you, mean it. You're not helping. When Katniss wakes up, she is being visited by Gale. I know, but he kind of ate with this one little thing. I gotta give him that. He tells her that District 12 was bombed really badly and there was a lot of damage, and she has a lot of questions about if they can go back, what they can do. And he says, Katniss, there is no District 12. End of book. Mic drop. I just got these though, so I'm not gonna actually drop it on the ground. Damn. Damn. What a fucking story. And we're not even. There's 3 more books to do. Suzanne Collins, God, you can do anything you want, and I'll say thank you. What I love the most about these adaptations is that they are so good about figuring out what they can do visually, and they sell it so well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was worth the 1.5 year wait. This one's probably a little shorter than my first one because I didn't go into all the background of every district at the beginning. I will be seeing you next month for our video on Mockingjay. We're going to do it all as one video. And you should have something else in between that I'm working on the side, just as like a off-the-cuff video. I think when this goes out, it should be not time for Power Pop Girls to be happening yet, so I'm going to plug that one more time. The weekend of June 20th and 21st, I will be performing in my old college town of Anderson, South Carolina. We're doing a night of Power Pop Girls music, so it's going to be Sabrina, Chapel, and Charlie. It's going to be a live band, live musicians, a free DJ set afterwards. There will be drag queens. It's going to be very fun. I performed with them last December, and I am very excited to do it again, and I hope to see you there. I'll put the link to get tickets for that in the description below. If you'd like to subscribe, I would love that. Please let me know in the comments how you feel about this book, if it's your favorite or not. You can follow me on Instagram as well. It's just my name, Taylor Tessnier. I'd really appreciate it if you want to do that, and I will see you real soon. Have a good one.
It's casual.
Is that sucking my blood? God damn it. I had a bug on me. I think it was a mosquito. Oh, that was so whiny and gross.